Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you again for joining us. We're into the 2 o'clock hour of our daily long Studio C70, where we invite some really fascinating, interesting civic leaders and community partners to join us to talk about election day today and what their organizations are doing around civic engagement and voting. So right now we're joined by the President and CEO of the Urban League of Philadelphia, Darrin Anderson. Darrin, thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate you joining us.
Hey, Justin, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So first off, can you just orient us? Can you tell us more about what the Urban League is and the work that you all do?
Yeah, the Urban League is a historical human and civil rights organization that has been focused on lifting up Black and brown and low income communities so they can achieve so we can achieve health and social and economic parity.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So as you've been talking to your members and constituents, what are some of the key issues and concerns of Philadelphia's African American community, and how are they thinking about this election? Obviously, everybody's got different thoughts, and so I imagine you've heard a lot of different things. But are there any themes that have woven through the conversations you've had before this election?
Well, the beauty of the African American community is that there's always a diversity of thought. We are not a monolithic group of individuals. We have challenges and problems in our communities that significantly impact our way of life and that need to be addressed. And voting is one way to make your voice heard and to do the research on those candidates that align with the way that, the quality of life you want to live, or the policies that potentially can govern you, as well as the opportunities. What I'm hearing from our constituency is that people are concerned about the economy and inflation and jobs, and the participation of Black and brown small businesses and women-owned businesses to participate in really the public sector. So the supply diversity is of importance. Our constituency is concerned about community safety and gun violence, looking up candidates that perhaps will have a view on this issue similar to yours that can help to ratify or to address this issue in our community. So student loans, if that's an issue that's on the table. So those things that matter most to you, you need to do the research to determine which candidates that are out there that's willing to help you and your family and your community to navigate through it.
Absolutely. Have you noticed, are there particular strategies that the candidates that are running for election, both from the mayoral and then the council and then some of the row offices as well, and the judicial candidates for that matter, are there particular strategies that they are employing to try to engage and garner support among the African American community in Philadelphia?
Well, I'm not sure what's happening on that particular front, but I will say this, that there's a education that needs to take place and that needs to transpire in our communities. There's misleading information and things that are alternative to the facts. I believe that we have to get back to what we did years ago. We can't just run TV ads and simply say that some these issues are from a broader sense. We have to get back to connecting with the community, doing focus groups and town hall meetings, getting to where the people are. People are hurting in the city of Philadelphia and the greater Philadelphia region. We are the largest city, poorest city in the country. The poverty rates, the lack of Black and brown home ownership and small businesses is a problem. The wealth gap continues to widen. And so, making sure that your voice is being heard to improve the outcomes, the life outcomes for Black and brown people in the greater Philadelphia area is of essence.
Are there particular programs that the Urban League is doing to try to bring people into the political process, help them share their voice, make sure that they're able to cast their ballot and do a beyond election day? Like, how are you engaging with your elected officials and other forms of civic engagement?
Well, as a bipartisan, organization, our goal is to educate and to put the facts where they are, and to examine any bills, any form of legislation that would have an adverse impact low incomes and Black and brown communities. We want to do our analysis of it, and if we feel as though that these particular bills would be harmful, then I think that's when our voice as a nonprofit organization will speak up. But we also want to ensure that we are empowering the community to leverage their voice. Grassroots advocacy and grassroots education is extremely important, and availability of organizations and state government to be able to answer questions. Who's eligible to vote? If I have a criminal background record, can I vote? Can I not vote? Where can I vote? Do I have to show voter ID? I mean, there are some tactics out there that may be very challenging for poor individuals to get out and vote. How do we eliminate those barriers so everyone can participate in our democracy and have the right to vote?
Absolutely. Are there any specific policies? I know you all are probably, as a nonprofit, somewhat limited in the amount of advocacy and stance making you can take, but are there any specific policies or initiatives that you've heard about in the campaign or that are coming to the forefront of public thought or opinion that the Urban League thinks would be helpful to the city of Philadelphia that would be worth?
Let me take a step back, because I'm not sure if I answered your first question regarding some of the programmatic and direct services that we provide. Yeah. We have a housing, our Office of Housing and Diversion Services. So we help individuals that's looking to purchase their first home. We help with down payments and closing costs. We help those that may be at risk of losing their home or can't pay their rent or their utilities. So we have diversion programs to be able to assist helping individuals to get into their home. So our overall goal of that program is home ownership. The fastest way to begin to gain wealth is home ownership, because we know that housing, those assets appreciate. We have a reentry program, our Office of Reentry Programs and Services, where individuals that are returning back from incarceration, what we call our returning citizens, we have a program that takes them through a very intense 4 to 6 week program to help them to find housing, to help them to find a job, to have food, to have clothing, to get them stabilized in such a way that they can become productive individuals within society. We have workforce development, those that are looking to develop their skills, or they need to explore who they are, or they are feeling hopeless, like, well, there's no job out there that I'm good at or I'm willing to do. We take them through a workforce development program, which is a 5-hour, 4 weeks long ready to work program to help those individuals that are looking to kind of make that next move or to get on a career pathway. So we have direct programs and services that we feel is contributing to the improvement of life outcomes for individuals. And it doesn't necessarily end there. I mean, we have our advocacy work, we have our health equity work to ensure that those that maybe dealing with hypertension or have access to healthcare or need a booster and flu shot. We have those programs that are out there.
That's great. That's really valuable. It's a lot of work that you all do, and you kind of got your fingerprints all over the city, huh?
Yeah, we do. And on the policy front, once again, I mentioned the economy. We mentioned inflation. We want to talk about community safety, student loans, affordable housing, gun violence, criminal justice. Any of those policies that we could help to shape to improve the outcomes of our citizens, but also at the same time to make our community safer. We're all about that. And we partner, we collaborate with other entities and other organizations.
That's wonderful. That's great. What are you keeping an eye on turnout? Like in Philadelphia in the primary, turnout was only about 27% for the municipal primary. And so are you trying to keep an eye on what turnout is among Black community, among just overall city of Philadelphia, kind of? And I'm curious if you've had any observations about how that compares to other demographics, and if there are any factors that influence that, and how we could improve that if there's a gap there.
Well, I think turnout in general, and I think you said 27%, and I imagine during the presidential election year, it's much higher. But turnout is a major concern. We want everyone to exercise their voice and their civil rights. and to be able to come out to cast their vote and to participate once again in our democracy, and their civil, in my opinion, their civil responsibility, and to do your research to understand who the candidates are and what the candidates bring to the table, and hold accountable, the candidates accountable once they are elected. Understanding what's happening at the federal level. I know a recent poll that came out nationwide said about 76% of African Americans and Black people in the country doesn't necessarily feel as though that there's been a change in their life since the last president was elected. But I think that we have to be able to educate to be able to understand, what does that change look like? Is that change marginal? Is that change at a exponential? Is it at a larger level? We need to be able to understand why people are hurting. And most of the point, the perception is reality. People, Black and brown, sometimes tend to vote kind of based on their feelings, but their feelings not necessarily the facts. And the facts, we need to make sure that we are communicating, we are educating, and we're making ourselves available with factual information so people can make an informed decision. But let's not necessarily be misled. Many don't feel that participating in our democracy benefits them, and that's just so far from the truth. So many individuals lost their lives and was killed because they want to go inside of a booth and write in the name or check in the name. And I believe, me also being an African American and from our ancestry, I feel that it's very important for us to continue to participate in voting. Since it's been around since 1965. There were individuals that lost their life, and I feel as though that I should honor them by exercising my right and getting up and casting my vote.
Yeah, absolutely. We had an interview with PA Youth Vote earlier this afternoon, and so we talked a lot about how they're working to engage young people in Philadelphia. And so I'm curious, does the Urban League do any outreach towards younger voters, future voters, or first-time voters to talk about some of the issues that you've highlighted here? Is that something that you all are engaged in or kind of thinking about at all?
Well, yes, we are a multi-generation, organization, and many of our young people are like, well, what is the Urban League? What is the Urban League about? And without being fully, educated and raising our community profile, they know the work, services, and programs that we do, but they don't know us from a totality. So yes, part of our mission is to educate the importance of voter registration and turning out to vote. Also engaging our young people. I firmly feel and believe that civics is missing in our society. Once upon a time, civics was taught in high school and in community college and college. I mean, I think we need to get back to educating them on a formal process of how a bill and how legislation is made. How is it impacted? How is it formed? What does a PAC mean? Well, how these two Democratic parties, or even third Democratic parties, independent, how do those things came to be, so they can make their own individual decision and cast their vote. So yes, we want to make sure that the youth are well aware of the opportunity that's in front of them. We want to make sure that our senior citizens who may be living in a community that they feel is unsafe is willing to come outside of their home and to cast their vote. So it's very important to us.
Wonderful, wonderful. What have we not talked about that you think is important to highlight on Election Day, particularly from the Urban League's perspective? Is there anything that
Yeah, from the Urban League and from our stellar team and our board of directors, you're going to start to see us gravitate to these kind of three themes. These themes is, we want to make sure that we're defending democracy, and that's, voting and the right to vote and casting your vote and participating local elections and municipal elections and state and federal elections. They all matter. They all shape our lives. They all shape policy. They influence, things that would be made available to us. We need to demand diversity, equity, and inclusion. There has been several polls that are out there And they're saying that, majority of Americans, Democrat, Republicans, different ages, black and white, different ethnicities agree that there needs to be diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives at the corporate level that should be trickling down to state government, federal government, nonprofits, and small businesses. So we want to make sure that we are kind of demanding that those things happen so more black and brown individuals can participate in the economy and can have family sustaining wages. And I would say last but not least, we got to defeat poverty. Once again, city of Philadelphia is the largest, most impoverished city in the country. That's dismal. We have to do something about that. And there are several strategies that we can deploy to begin to move that needle, but we can't do it alone. We got to do it in partnership. We have to do it in collaboration. We need to have a commitment from corporate America. That same commitment that was made through the death of George Floyd, almost $32 billion. Where are those dollars at today? They need to trickle down to organizations like the Urban League and other partners like NAACP, and I'll even go as far as saying that the YMCA, those organizations that have boots on the ground and that's on the front lines. We need resources to continue to make our communities better.
Mm-hmm. So coalition work is a really important part of your all's model, huh? It sounds like you work a lot with. It's a really important part of Urban League's theory of change is to develop partnerships and kind of work through each other's strengths, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's great partners in the youth space. You have, the PAL centers, you have the Boys and Girls Club, and I mentioned the YMCA. In that space, we have the space of civil rights and human rights, where we partner with the NAACP and obviously not only just the Urban League here in Philadelphia, but the Urban League nationally, and then the League of Women Voters. I mean, there's quite a few other organizations that we work with, we partner with locally and as well as nationally. And when we think about the work around workforce development, the work around reentry, the work around housing and health equity, we have to have partners to help us to move this work forward. Some of this work, we are the drivers, but sometimes we are the passengers. We need to figure out which organizations are the right fit, make sure that we have mutual reinforcing activities and strategies, and we can work together to advance the work.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, we appreciate your partnership, and thank you very much, Darrin, for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, and I look forward to maybe doing this again next year or throughout the year. Just you give me a call, I'll make myself available.
Good. It's going to be a big year, so this year,
yes, it will be.
Yeah, this election's important, but I think everybody's starting to think about 2024 as well. So,
well, I would say it is. I believe that every election is important. I know that the presidential election, because it gets so much attention and national notarization, but what the state and the municipal and the city council, they matter just as much. We know all politics are local, and it's important because those are the people that you can touch and feel, and then those are going to be the ones that's going to be able to pass legislation and bills to make your life better. So thank you for the opportunity to speak with you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And
you have a great one.
You too.
All righty. Bye-bye.